Ever find yourself acting, well, differently depending on who you're with, almost like you're swapping out versions of yourself?
Hmm.
It does make you think, right? How much of who we are is, really us, and how much is maybe just performance?
Yeah, definitely.
We're all sort of figuring out this identity thing, and today we're going to explore some of those hidden parts through a film that honestly, it really gets in your head, but we'll try and make it make sense.
Exactly. We are diving deep into Ingmar Bergman's 1966 film, Persona.
Yeah.
And it's more than just a movie. It's this profound look at identity, at silence, and, well, those lines between who we are and who we seem to be,
Hmm.
they get pretty blurry. It
Yeah.
still raises so many questions.
It really does. And guiding us through this is a really insightful analysis called Deconstructing Bergman's Persona. Think of it as our roadmap.
Yeah, a guide.
Our mission today. To unpack what the film says about identity, about this idea of the persona, that mask, and try to get a handle on why these characters act the way they do. It's kind of a shortcut to appreciating this really complex, fascinating work. Okay, so where do we start?
Well, I think the absolute heart of it really is this tension.
Yeah.
The clash between how we appear on the outside, the persona, the face we put on,
Right.
and then all the stuff churning inside. The often complicated, contradictory inner world.
And the characters embody this, right? Elizabeth Vogler and Alma.
Precisely. Elizabeth, she's this famous actress who just stops talking. Total silence. And Alma is the nurse assigned to look after her out on this isolated island.
That silence from Elizabeth, it's so potent. It doesn't feel like she can't talk. It feels like she won't.
Exactly.
And the analysis we read suggests it's not just like a symptom, it's an act, a rejection maybe. Rejecting societal roles, the fakeness that speech can sometimes involve.
It's a form of resistance, a really powerful, unsettling one. Now compare that to Alma, who, at first anyway, seems like the total opposite.
She talks a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems pretty comfortable with those social norms, the accepted roles. But, as they spend more time alone together, those clear lines between them, they start to smudge.
Ah, okay. So their identities aren't fixed points.
Not at all. They start to blur. It's one of the film's core ideas. Identity is fluid. It shifts.
And you see them kind of reflecting each other.
Absolutely. Mirroring each other, picking up mannerisms. The analysis points out how the roles even seem to kind of subtly swap as things go on.
And Alma, she shares some pretty personal stuff, doesn't she? Those stories she tells.
Oh, yeah. Especially that recounting of a very intense sexual encounter. It's like a crack appears in her surface.
You get a glimpse of something hidden.
Yeah, these raw, maybe repressed desires that really don't fit with the sort of conventional image she projects. And her emotional outbursts later on, they just highlight that inner conflict even more.
It's like she's trying to keep it together, maintain that persona, but the real feelings keep pushing through. In Elizabeth's silence, it almost seems to provoke this in Alma, doesn't it?
It acts as a catalyst, yeah. On the surface, they seem polar opposites. You've got the silent, withdrawn observer and the talkative, emotional one.
But the film suggests it's more complex than that.
Much more. As it goes on, you start to feel like maybe they're not so different. The analysis suggests they might even represent repressed parts of each other.
So, like, Elizabeth's silence hides the turmoil that Alma expresses outwardly, and Alma's talkativeness maybe hides a different kind of emptiness.
Something like that. Or maybe they're like two facets of one person, one psyche that's kind of fractured. It's a really compelling idea.
And this merging this two sides of the same coin thing, it gets even more intense later in the film.
Oh, definitely. The second half really leans into this role reversal. Alma starts consciously imitating Elizabeth.
Copying her movements.
Yeah, her gestures, her expressions is quite deliberate. And then, well, there's that scene.
Faces merging.
The faces merging, that superimposed shot, it's iconic for a reason, so visually striking, and it just perfectly captures this idea of identities dissolving into each other.
Wow. The analysis calls it the inner multiplicity of the individual. That's a great way to put it.
It really is. It drives home that they're not just one solid thing, but maybe, a collection of different cells all packed in together.
And isn't it right after that incredibly intense visual that Alma has that line?
Yes. I don't want to be like you. It feels like this sudden jolt of awareness, like she's desperately trying to pull back to redraw the lines of who she is before she disappears completely.
Before we get too lost in their dynamic, maybe we should rewind a bit to the very beginning of the film, because that opening is something else.
Oh, yeah. It's deliberately jarring, isn't it?
Yeah.
That whole sequence, the film projector, the burning film, the dead lamb, that hand being nailed, it tells you right away this isn't going to be, well, normal.
Not your average Sunday matinee, no. It feels almost like abstract art. What does the analysis say about that? The burning film reel? Maybe Bergman pointing at cinema itself?
That's one interpretation, yeah. Acknowledging the artifice, the constructed nature of film, and the other images, the lamb, the crucifixion imagery. They could point to deeper things, existential pain, suffering.
So he's not just setting a scene, he's setting a mood, questioning the medium itself, and forcing you, the viewer, to question what you're seeing.
Exactly. It immediately yanks us out of expecting straightforward reality. It signals we're entering a different kind of space, maybe subconscious, dealing with consciousness itself, not just a plot.
And his filmmaking techniques really amplify all this, don't they, the way he shoots it?
Oh, absolutely. Bergman's visual language is key. Those extreme close-ups on the faces.
Uncomfortable, almost.
Yeah, but incredibly intimate. The analysis used that phrase, archaeology of the face, like you're digging right into their psyche through their expressions.
That fits. And the composition, too. Lots of symmetry, mirrors.
Yes. Constantly reinforcing that theme of doubling, of reflection, these two women as mirrors for each other. And, of course, the silence.
The silence itself is like a character.
It really is. It's
So-
not just absence of sound, it's loaded.
Mhm.
It creates tension, forces us to read into things, to project. It's often more powerful than dialogue.
Definitely makes you lean in, try to figure it out. And the film also messes with time and space, right? It's not linear.
No, not at all. Scenes just end
Yeah.
or shift without the usual cause and effect links you expect in a story.
Creates a very dreamlike feeling.
Or like a therapy session, maybe. The analysis points us out. It feels like a stream of consciousness, more about exploring a psychological state than telling a straightforward story. We're kind of floating in their experience, not grounded in objective time and space.
Which makes total sense if we start thinking about the psychology behind it all. The analysis brings in Jung and Freud.
It does, and those ideas map onto the film really well. Jung's concept of the persona, not just the title, but the actual psychological idea of the social mask we wear.
That seems tailor-made for this film.
It really does. You see it in how both women present themselves initially. And then there's Jung's shadow concept, the darker, hidden parts of ourselves we might deny or project.
So Alma's anger towards Elizabet, could that be her projecting her own shadow?
That's a very strong interpretation, yeah. Her volatility could be her struggling with those shadow aspects that Elizabeth's silence somehow brings to the surface.
And Freud? Where does he fit in?
Well, the analysis suggests looking at it through a Freudian lens, too, thinking about repressed desires, which we've touched on, but also maybe guilt, and particularly unresolved conflicts around motherhood that seem present for both.
Right, motherhood is a big theme. Let's talk more about Elizabeth's silence again. You said resistance, but the analysis also calls it active.
Yes, it's not passive, becomes this active force. It's a shield for her, definitely. Protection. But maybe it's also a bit of a weapon. It forces Alma into uncomfortable places.
And it highlights how words can fail.
Exactly. By refusing to use language, Elizabet almost exposes its limits, its potential inadequacy for expressing deep, complex truths.
And that contrasts with Alma, who just keeps talking and talking.
It creates this huge existential gap between them, doesn't it? One tries to find meaning, or maybe escape through silence, the other through constant speech.
And does either way really work in the end?
According to the analysis, not really. Neither silence nor language fully captures or conveys everything. Both fall short, in a way. Which is fascinating because the film itself seems aware of its own limitations.
How so? You mean those self-aware moments?
Yeah, like the burning film we mentioned, or when a character suddenly looks right at the camera.
Yeah.
It breaks the illusion.
It reminds you you're watching a movie.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
like Bergman is saying, look, this is artifice. Can film really show you reality? Persona isn't just a story. It's Bergman thinking about storytelling, about cinema itself.
A meta-commentary. And going back to Alma's story, that traumatic memory, the analysis links it strongly to societal pressures on women.
Very much so. It frames it as this collision between her personal desires and the rigid expectations society places on women, especially regarding sexuality.
And the guilt that follows.
Yes, the film really tackles that the societal control over the female body, the way desire can be repressed, and the intense guilt that often comes with transgressing those norms.
And Elizabet's attitude towards her son plays into this too, her detachment.
It seems to. It reads like a rejection of the expected, almost sacred role of the mother. The analysis sees it aligning with feminist ideas emerging at the time that a woman's identity shouldn't just be reduced to mother,
It's a refusal of that prescribed role.
a powerful one. And all these themes, the shifting identities, the societal pressures, the psychological turmoil, they all contribute to this blurring of reality within the film itself.
Right, you never quite know what's real.
Exactly. The film deliberately mixes things up. Is it a dream, a memory, fantasy? It all blends together, mirroring how the characters' own internal worlds are fragmenting. The boundary just dissolves.
Which leaves you, the viewer, feeling pretty untethered. There's no reliable guide.
No objective narrator telling you this is what happened.
Yeah.
You are dropped right into their subjective experiences, feeling the emotional intensity rather than getting a clear factual account.
Okay, so pulling back from this deep dive into persona, what are the big takeaways, if you had to boil it down?
Well, I think fundamentally it's this incredibly powerful look at how fluid and frankly complex our identities really are.
Mm.
It makes us think about the personas, the masks we show the world versus the inner life we hide. It explores the power, but also the limits of both silence and speech.
And how fuzzy the line is between inner and outer reality.
Exactly. That blurring is key.
It really does make you think about your own life, doesn't it? Those different roles you play. Do you ever feel that sense of blurriness between who you are and who you're supposed to be?
It's a universal feeling, I think,
Yeah.
which leads to maybe the final thought the film leaves us with.
Mm-hmm.
In a world that's always asking us to define ourselves, put ourselves in boxes, what does it actually mean to be truly seen?
Mm-hmm.
Or if our identities really are as fluid as persona suggests, what does that mean for how we connect with other people?
Wow. Yeah, definitely questions that stick with you. It's a film that demands that you keep thinking, maybe explore more Bergman or just ponder these ideas about the self long after it's over.